What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And once a month, I host the only online broadcast for dads and fathers in the world that is sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dad Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization. And I'm also the board chair for an organization called the Global Food and Drink Initiative, whose goal and mission is to spotlight Blacks in the diaspora who are involved in food, wine, and travel. We're broadcasting live on February 27th. The month is almost over. And I was just saying, I haven't had my dish of Staggers Jones. Haven't had my fill. Not good, Dr. Vibe. And I'm telling you, my life sort of slumps when I have my Staggers Jones dish. And I was just expressing love to both of them before we started our broadcast tonight because they mean a lot to me. And there are times where I'm just like shaking my head and they lift me up, whether it's through laughter or through its knowledge. I want to hail up, as we say, from where my heritage, we're going to hail up Aisha K. Staggers and Jill D. Jones. What is going on, ladies?
Hey, how are you?
Better now.
And it's good to be back on.
It's always good to be back. And so before we get started, folks, and thank you so much, people who are watching this live or on the replay or listening to it live on the replay. We were talking about we got fans.
Yeah.
So let's start with our oldest fan. Aisha's dad.
Yes.
Talk to me about this. Chat it to me.
My dad's in South Carolina, so he and his wife they listen. My dad always, where's the link?
You see, they're already doing it to me.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
He went back and he listened.
He's gone back catalog. Oh gosh.
No.
He's been a fan since it was just you and me on the
yes. Oh my gosh. Well, blessings, Mr. Staggers. And you know what? I speak of that hopefully one day we'll have him on.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay. And Jill, there's a relative of yours that bugs you too.
Yeah, she doesn't bug me. She just really wants to hear our thoughts, and she calls me about the show. My cousin.
Excuse me?
Lone Wolf.
The Lone Wolf. Yes.
Or Black Beauty. I don't know which one she's going as.
Okay.
She comes in as one of those. But she is so interested in the show and has, great conversations with me. We're on the phone almost every other day speaking about politics. And she sort of opens my mind a lot, looking at things from a different perspective sometimes. So, yeah, she's a really good filter and to run things through. And then she gives me, ideas about the show. And, I always ask her, what's going on with you? Because I know that everyone's a little bit, it's sort of like this weird lull with, I guess, the Biden administration. So everyone, I don't know what everyone was expecting everything to go bam, bam, bam. And we've just still being tortured by the Republican Party. And, it's a daunting task,
Donald Trump won't go away. Gosh.
Yeah, but and there's I'm gonna add something to the story this week. I'll put in. We'll not talk about it right now, but before we get to the rundown, how does it make you feel when relatives ask you and show interest about this?
I love it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think for my dad, my dad's a different generation. And for him to want to listen, he likes the perspective that you come out of Canada. And my dad's a DJ from way back.
Yeah.
So he used to do the talk show thing.
Okay.
And he used to do a show out of here, which they used to have called the Electric Drum, and they used to talk about issues for the Black community out of New Haven, Connecticut. And New Haven is where they had one of the original Black Panther trials. So the talk that used to come out of here
Okay.
would be it was a bit different. But I think, the perspective that he gives, like he and I have these conversations, and it's pretty much the same. It's like, the conversation that we have here resonates with him because he's more progressive than what he's living in South Carolina, because he was born, even though his parents are from South Carolina, he was actually born and raised in New Haven, Connecticut.
Wow. Okay.
And I think for me, with my cousin, with Lone Wolf, I think that it's great that she and I can talk about it because, she's in Ohio. So she really, as a Black woman living in Ohio, she really gives me a lot of perspective and the up-to-date info about what's really happening or not happening. And she's, it's so good to get to know somebody on this level, because normally you grow up, you're talking about whatever, but this is somewhere we really connected. And, she's an activist in her own right, although we've winded down a little bit and started sharing bread recipes, but we took a break. We needed it.
Sharing bread recipes.
Yeah, we needed a minute to get ourselves together. It takes up an ample amount of time. You don't worry about what's going on in the world, and you just make that bread.
Okay.
And then we have Django, who's always really watching. Django.
Yes. We got to shout out to our regular followers. We love you immensely.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you even more for sharing it out. That means the world to us. So folks, I've actually, after our first conversation, I'm gonna add something in, because when we're chatting, there's something else we got to talk about. But let's go first.
Okay.
Mitch says he's going to support 45 if he wins a 2024 nomination. And then we'll talk about what's going down in Orlando, Florida this weekend. So is Mitch doing a flip-flop?
Mitch is going to do whatever Mitch is going to do to get himself back in power. This man clearly is not ready to retire until he retires on top. I thought that he was ready to be done once Chuck Schumer took over and he saw himself as being just defeated, but apparently he wants to go out on top again. And this, you would think that he, after the insurrection on January 6th, he got scared out of his turtle shell, but apparently he didn't. And he, he's going to support, put it this way, Mitch is going to support whoever the nominee is going to be. If that's Donald Trump, so be it. He's going to support him. But I think the fact of the matter is how you ask the question, too. I got to say that reporter did ask him the question, if Donald Trump is the nominee, will you support it? And Mitch said, well, yeah, I'm going to support the nominee. That was his response. Is it will Donald Trump? Well, of course, he's going to say something friendly to Donald Trump. Why? Because he knows Donald Trump is going to give this speech at CPAC. He doesn't want Donald Trump to say something nasty about him. And so that's where that's coming from. Does he hope Donald Trump goes away? Of course he does, because Donald Trump lost him the Senate. But is he serious? Time will tell.
Jill?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is just the old Mitch maneuver, and I don't think that Mitch will retire until he gets voted out, or, something else happens, where he's just not on this planet anymore. These people, it's become such a part of them to actively participate in evil deeds. It's like that's what their mission in life is. And, I don't even know how anyone can take the party seriously with Mitch, who gave a pretty stirring speech. during the impeachment trial, even though he cowardly didn't do anything. He's about nothing. Mitch is zero. He's nothing. And his days are over. And I don't think he realizes that he won't be the one to go in. Even if Trump is, let's say 2024, they will figure a way to get rid of Mitch, because I don't think the party wants him anymore, frankly. I think he made his bed, and I think that they are trying to expunge themselves from the old regime of Republicans and really get their new ones in. I think they've now had the reveal of who's in and who's out and who's able to flip-flop, and they will expunge them. They will get rid of them by hook or crook. But Mitch will never be majority leader again the way he thinks, and not for a party that, that he thinks of what it once was. He's done.
So you really think that 45 has said he's done? Because I've been reading a lot that 45 is on a rampage on anyone who's against him now.
Mm-hmm, of course.
So you really think he would do that to Mitch? Gone.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think because we can see what he holds grudges, and he gets back at people, and it may take him a minute to do it, but he does that. It's sort of like, after hearing that Donald Trump's favorite movie was The Godfather, and, if you go by that code, or that how their mission statement is, once you show your ass, basically, you're kind of watched for the rest of the whole duration. That's why, like even with the Gotti family, Sammy Gravano and all of those guys, it was like, once you turn evidence or flip out on them, you're done. You are done. Brother, sister, mother, whoever. That was how it was going down. So if I go just by that and thinking how Trump is, I'm sure he'll smile and have you having fun and ha ha ha, Mitch. Yeah. But Mitch is done, because Mitch doesn't hold any weight, because Trump has slowly pulled it away from him, even though he's not in power, not being there with the Hawleys, with the Ted Cruz. Mitch used to have such control over his party. He has none now. He cannot whip anybody into shape to do anything. They don't care. They're all giving him the finger. And I think the only reason, and he looks like a fool, the more he does stuff like what he pulled by saying, I'll be there and support him. That was actually, to me, like he should have just closed his own casket.
Yeah. Well, when he didn't whip the vote, he
should have just said this. Pull it down.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. When he didn't whip the vote for Trump for impeachment, that was the thing. When he told people to vote their conscience, that was it for him. Even though he knew most were going to vote to not convict, by not saying every last one of you better not convict, he already sealed his fate. He did not whip the vote. That's the first thing. If Ted Cruz does not run for president, they're going to look at probably trying to push him to be speaker.
Yes.
On the Republican side, because that seems where it's about going. If not him, Josh Hawley is really trying to push himself in that position. But those two are surfacing. As in terms of leadership of the party. But Mitch McConnell is a done deal. And I think Mitch McConnell knows that. He's trying to reclaim some form of leadership. But after watching CPAC and some of the behavior this weekend, you really see that CPAC used to be the very fringe part of the party. Now it is the majority of the party. It is the party. It is the mainstream part of the party. And people that used to be the establishment part of the party, that used to be the mainstream, are now the fringe. And the establishment is the fringe. Right. And so they're not trying to hear people like Mitch McConnell anymore. And so I think his days are done. I mean, they're not even numbered at this point. They're just done.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's shout it out. I'm loving it here. Real Dango is in the house. Birdie Lynn is in the house. Birdie Lynn is saying, just replacing team members. They really should rebrand, but they are rebranding. They're rebranding to become more radical.
The Nazi Party, the Third Reich,
the Trump Party,
the Fourth Reich. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And we've got someone brand new we haven't heard before. Chris is saying here, hi from New Haven. Not to jump the gun here and just quote shout out in class, unquote. You're not shouting out. Mitch is the primary reason we need term limits. The media absolutely needs not to cover 45 and his gangland cronies, keeping them in our conscious so much.
I agree.
It is like pouring gasoline on already out of control fire. While on a roll, the two things, in my humble opinion, he says, that need to be addressed by our now Democratic-led government is systemic racism and the omnipresent disinformation. For good take, strong takes there.
It's so true. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree because, like I said, it's like it is every single day. We still have to deal with it because he's ratings, or so they think. But here's an interesting thing, during the whole pandemic and we were all sort of insulated and isolated from each other. Today I was out earlier and I made mention of it on my Twitter that there were so many people out today. And normally if they hadn't been giving vaccines, I would have been tripping out. But the fact is there were a lot of elderly people with canes, walkers. They were out having a good time. It was like cocoon out there. And it was...
Jill, why did you go there?
Because it was. I was like going, oh my gosh, everybody's in the store. They're like coming and chatting and asking you questions, like whatever. But for me, I started to feel like there was a sense of like balance, of getting to be balanced and normalcy. Once people are able to get back to their lives, because we all have our own lives, I think, and the media pulls back and finds other stories to talk about. Chris might be right that, it's too much in the conscious, but today no one is thinking about Trump. He's not on anyone's mind. And I think he would fade away on many levels, not people's activism, but what he stands for. Because, it was just like, this little elderly white lady going to get her food at the store. And then I'm, and me and another girlfriend who's African, and we're African American, she comes up to us, asks us what we're waiting for in line and all this stuff. This was normal before all this pandemic stuff. It should get back to that again, because we don't need to keep fostering this stuff. And it was just like, okay, so I'm hoping that we do address the systemic racism, because after watching that Billie Holiday movie, some of it last night, nothing's changed. But for me to see that we've had now an insurrection where they went around and wielded, a noose to lynch somebody. These are all of their...
To lynch the vice president.
To lynch somebody. But it's like that's their thing. And then to also see on the CPAC stage is shaped like what the SS used on their lapels. And it's the rune symbol. It's the SS symbol, as well as the National Socialist Movement. Now, I thought they hated socialists, but they sure as hell are all up in it, because, America, people have been liking to play games with the semantics and you're this and you're that. It isn't even about that party anymore. It's not that. If you have people who support this Republican Party, you need to question them seriously, and you need to probably not tell them anything about your life if you want to remain safe in the future, because this is a cult-like mentality. And for them to be walking on that stage, I cannot believe that the Republican Party, that people didn't walk out of it and leave it today. It's so offensive to me. Offensive. We're not changing. And it is that old thing. They know what they're doing, you guys. They know full well what they're doing. And they have a plan. And they want it back the way it was. They know what their history is. They know what it was. They know what they colored it as.
Yeah.
They are proud of it.
And when they say when they champion the fact that we're the party of Lincoln freed the slaves. Let's be clear about Lincoln's history here. Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves because he thought slavery was wrong. If you read Lincoln's papers, Lincoln says that he believes inherently that black men were not equal to him as a white man.
Right.
He drew up the Emancipation Proclamation because his whole mission was to preserve the Union, the sanctity of the Union, not because slavery was the original sin of this country. So they can champion, oh, we're the party of Lincoln all they want, but Lincoln was still a racist bastard when it comes down to it. And anyone can hate me for saying that, but that's the truth. Lincoln still believed in systemic racism. Lincoln was just trying to preserve the Union. Thomas Jefferson, same thing. We're going to come down to this point where people have to be real about history and stop rewriting American history. This Republican Party, we can no longer say not all Republicans are racist, but all racists are Republicans. If you are still a member of this Republican Party here and you are still holding on, you are supporting racism. Point blank.
And they have adopted the ideals of Hitler.
Exactly.
And they are telling you this. You know, I think when you do go on about Abraham Lincoln and you go into Thomas Jefferson, people have thought that if we talk about Thomas Jefferson, we talk about Lincoln and bloop-de-bloop-de-bloop. Well, here's the interesting thing. In their minds, they're like, yeah, Lincoln was a racist bastard. He didn't want to release those slaves. So you know what? Because of bureaucracy and BS, we're going to be who Lincoln was. You see, this is their history. So I'm not so sure if Lincoln was 100% racist or if it was just there's so much pressure about what's going on. Of course, he didn't think that black men and women were equal to him. That we do know. But what's crazy is when we do talk about the white history and we do talk about these people being biased and racist, they're okay with it and they're proud of it. And they think in their sick minds, they take the whole aspirational aspect of America, which is all but a concept, because none of them lived up to the aspiration. Not any of the founding fathers, maybe Hamilton in different places at times. But this appeals to them to actually right the wrong that they feel happened. You see, they feel there was a wrong that transcended, that happened back after the 8th president from then on, it was wrong. And it was not from what the Whig Party, because remember, the Whigs were the ones who had turned into Republicans, or one of them. But they feel they're here to right the wrong. And when you have a mentality of righting a wrong, then whatever form of history you're talking about is not going to register. Like, that's why March 4th is going to happen, because that's when presidents were really sworn in, and they want everything back. It's very strange. It's a strange psychology, but you're talking about people who want to right the wrong that's been done in America. And one of the wrongs was freeing the slaves and giving the Indians anything.
And the other part of this too, that we've got to speak and continue to speak, particularly as voting people here whose votes are being disenfranchised, is we voted. We voted. We are the 80 plus million people who voted for Joe Biden. Our votes count. Stop saying, oh, it was stolen. If you're going to keep saying that, then we need to take this power back and say, no, you're telling us that we stole your votes when we voted. Our votes count too. You're no more American than we are. Our votes count too. And there are more of us whose votes actually, seem to matter in this race. If we're going to do, this popular vote thing, then more of us voted for this candidate A, versus your candidate.
Yeah,
You
but
know
what
I mean?
worried them the most was the fact that the South started to mobilize. You had a Stacey Abrams who came along and just sort of said, we are
We can
12% of
change
the
it.
population, and we're going to get all of us together and we're going to try to fix this. And that's what they're going after. Even
Now
if
they're
it
going after
means
her.
putting more of us in jail, more of our people. And that is something, that's why the criminalization was so important to them, because it keeps them in their power.
Yeah.
We have lost a congressional seat here in California because 20% of citizens have left, and guess where they've moved? Texas.
You
Yeah.
know it. You know, and I don't know if you saw, but it was a great feature on Point NPR about Californians leaving
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and going to Texas. So offline, I'll make sure I share that link. I had no
Please.
idea. I had no idea about it, but when I listened to it, I went, "Oh my goodness!"
The
Yeah.
rent's too damn high.
Like people are just, I'm like. So just before I'll just get back, lots of commentary flying in tonight, and even though it's a Saturday night, these ladies got their fans. And one thing that I saw Aisha smile when I put something up, so I'm gonna put it up again. Fisk Uni fire. She's got her and Chris again, loving your takes. Chris is saying, "Brava, Aisha. The vast majority of us, I grew up in Boston, received the totally whitewashed, very abbreviated version of Black history. The real truth seems to scare too many." Real
Well, I
Django.
think it's, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
no, so Real Django, I'm not gonna hate on you, Staggers. I don't know Abe Lincoln. The mindset of white people back then as a whole didn't think Africans were a people equal to themselves. There you go.
True.
We have Black Beauty's finally here. This is Rich loving it. Amen. Voting is everything, and they know it. Yep.
But I wanted to address Chris's comment. What did he say?
Yes.
I think that, the real truth seems to scare so many, but I don't understand why white people aren't craving more of the real history that they want to hear, because, these things, they're only trying to create more monsters out of their own race. Why wouldn't you try to appeal to the humanity in people? That's history. We're not our ancestors, but these people want to be. I'm related to William Henry Harrison. I'm not him. But it's ironic that, it's like, okay, but life goes on. It's important to know what these things, what they manifest into.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, why are they trying to keep their people into this isolated, ignorance of not understanding? It's just not right. It's not fair. It's not decent. It's not human, because it's just wrong.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna go into a next story. This was an extra.
Oh, wait,
go ahead.
one quick thing I really wanted to bring up, that even in the middle of, all of this stuff with Black people, we've been enslaved, our people have some brutal history. And if you do watch the Billie Holiday thing, you will see that how even part of that systemic racism just went through the family, the mother, everything was so horrible. As an artistic person, it disturbed the hell out of me to see and to know that even some of my relatives experienced, what you had to do to make a living. Even all of us have known it. But the other week, the courts just forced the Cherokee Nation to recognize the freedmen, the ones that they enslaved Black people too. It took so long. This is why, and last night I was so disgusted with everybody. I was like, we've had each other's backs for so long, and now it looks like here we are, the indigenous people, Black people, whatever. But there's always some political riffraff in there trying to keep us all apart. People needed to be recognized. They didn't want to do it in Ancestry.com or in Ancestry. They don't like to share their bloodline because they thought that people would be coming in to claim parts of their lands or the benefits or whatever the treaties were about. And yet, this is just human nature. That whole crabs in a barrel, let me step on top of you. It's existed. And we do need to heal, but we cannot heal with politicians.
But you see your new hashtag, right? the bottom screen.
Team Jill.
Hashtag Team Jill.
Birdie Lynn.
And Birdie Lynn is saying also, yes, the cost of living is wild in California.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to throw in one that we didn't plan for, but it came up in my alleged mind when these ladies were sharing. Capitol Police Chief says extremists have discussed attack on Congress during Biden's first joint address.
They're not extremists. They're terrorists.
Yeah.
And we have to stop pussyfooting around with the words. They are terrorists. If you read the New York Times article about the types of fights that the Black policemen were fighting against and being called N-words and being beaten, and of course, Miss Patton or Miss Pitt, what I forgot her name. Sorry, forgive me. But this is not right. This is not right. And Republicans should be in shame, because I got to tell you one damn thing. If I was a Capitol Police officer, I'd be damned if I'd help you pick up your freaking pencil off of the floor. I would not. I'd look the other way the next time anybody came for you. But that's why I'm not a Capitol Police.
That's why you're the PR for President Biden in waiting.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, though? Let me tell you.
God, I got her. I got Jill. I got her.
The hell with it.
This started Monday. On Monday, when they first started the hearings, the Senate hearings, I actually covered this because I was like, two of the ranking officers were talking about some of the things that they had experienced. And then Senator Klobuchar went into talking about some of the things that not only that the Capitol Police experienced, but also that the the workers had experienced as well. And that they were in the building, they were scared too, and that things that they were being called on their way to trying to hide. And then how degraded they felt having to clean this stuff up, and just really asking, like, is this America? Why am I having to clean up feces off the wall? And why, what were these people trying to do here? And, I'm like, we joke and everything, but, me and my best friend were joking, like, what was the point? Because those terrorists got in the building, and it's obvious they had no plan. What was the point beyond getting in the building? Because, like, my point is, like,
to kill people. They did have a plan. The few that were the ones that were key, because in the New York Times, he speaks about the ones that had the guns, and they had, and our guys had rifles as well. But the fact of why you're not using those things, because you're one person and there's hundreds. And you're outmanned, so you have to be really clever about when you decide to shoot. I mean, as it was,
But I'm talking about they get in and they're wandering around, and it's kind of like once there was no backup plan for once they got in. If they couldn't kill people,
well, if they got a hold of people, they would have done it. But that's why, if you use that argument that they were just wandering around, then they get off. The reality is, when they were trying to kill Marie Antoinette and her husband, and they ripped people limb from limb, because people who would never have done it, just standing in the crowd and just, and also, if you look at, there's footage of when Germany, when they took and got all of the German soldiers at the end of the war. He's a famous photographer, has footage of what they actually did to those soldiers and what they did to the women. And they were ripping people with their bare hands. So it is the fact that there was a multitude of people in this mob. And even though they looked timid and passive, all it would have taken was one trick, anything. And don't forget, there was a guy with a megaphone giving directions from Trump, spurring it on. Yeah. And had they not corralled him and calmed him down, who knows? They might have started setting matches to it, girl.
But I'm talking about the people who are outside versus the people who are actually in the chambers. When there were still Congress people up top, hiding with their cell phones. And you have the people who are down. And that police officer comes in and is like, oh, so what are you guys doing? And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm there, I'm changing credit scores, I'm passing bills, I'm raising the minimum wage, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And these people are just wandering around aimlessly. And I'm thinking to myself, these people had no plan. These particular people, some of these people outside with the gas and all the rifles and stuff, they had a plan. They're out there trying to execute their plan. But these ones that actually got in had not only had no plan, they had no forethought of anything.
Well, they had a plan. The one girl took the laptop. She was going to send it to someone in Russia. We had the Falcon and the Snowman. I don't know. I forgot those guys' names, but they sold secrets to Russia back in, I think, the 70s or the 60s, and they served 40 years in jail for it. It is something that America has a very difficult time right now enforcing laws against white people. Yeah. It's just, and I really just don't know what to say. They do not arrest the same way. They do not hold them accountable the same way. And if they don't start taking care of it, this country is going straight to hell.
I agree with you on the part that there is no excuse as to why this country cannot find any of these people. The whole thing is like, oh, we only got 200 people. Huh?
There's a wonderful group on Twitter who are finding them, by the way.
Yeah.
It is a group, and I can post it later and we can share it later. They have identified people and they are spending endless hours taking those pictures, going through everything in social media, and they've been finding people. So whether the FBI believes it or not, they're going to get so many people. Yeah. And this group is like, they found the video of the girl the other day with her white supremacist video.
I saw that.
And they are finding it. So you have people that, are on a mission, and they will find everybody.
Yeah.
Chris is saying, right, they wanted to assassinate Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi, and it's frightening how close they came to achieving their goal.
Frightening.
This is why the entire impeachment process was a farce, because it should have been criminal. What Donald Trump did was criminal. It wasn't a civil process. And the fact that he is no longer a sitting president, it should be criminal at this point.
But Mitch McConnell made sure of that.
Yeah.
But here's my concern. If I'm a senator, my life has been threatened. Wouldn't I, forget about the 45 issue, but wouldn't you want as many as those people arrested and serve time? Forget the political thing. We're just talking about human rights and human decency.
Now that those people give you power in this country is worth more than their lives.
They're not decent, but you have to, it kind of makes you wonder, why would the old simpleton Mike Pence still say how much he really likes Trump?
Well, but he's not at the thing this weekend, which is interesting.
Well, no, but there's the reason that he's chiming like that is because Mike Pence will have to look over his shoulder for the rest of his days. He's got a family, he's got everything, and I got to tell you something. How he speaks is somebody who's been threatened. That's the only way. He has no balls. They totally took him. They didn't get him to hang him, but they sure took away whatever any masculinity he had.
So just
as a man.
And Black Beauty is saying, and the shame of it all is if we're not careful, next time they will succeed.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And the truth is that Mike Pence was scared for 3 weeks with Secret Service because he could only start trusting Secret Service after Trump left office.
And now we find out you can't really trust hardly any of them.
Mm-hmm. So here's bring up this question. What is the political future of Mike Pence?
I think that part of the reason that Mike Pence is so tethered to Trump right now is because Mike Pence still thinks he has some kind of future.
Does
I
he?
think he's
If-
going
I
to just,
think
yeah.
I think he didn't think he had a political future anymore until Nikki Haley opened her mouth.
Oh, gosh.
No, I'm being dead serious. And when Nikki Haley opened her mouth and spoke negatively of Trump, then he said, "Well, maybe I do still have a future."
But he will never speak negatively of Trump. He will
No.
never do it because,
They almost killed him.
they almost killed him. And to them, they could still want to just because he messed it all up. He did not right the wrong.
You mean he abide by laws?
Yep.
Yeah.
He didn't play the game the right way.
We're going to have, these people around for a while. Like I said, I think that there will be many who fall off from this constant devotion that Trump requires.
I can't see that. I think because what both you just said, power over intelligence.
I just don't think Trump's going to live that long. I just don't think that he will run in 2024 because I just don't think he's going to survive. Not because of anything happening to him. I just have a feeling that he's going to get sick and die.
Well, you know what? Something really interesting came up in my mind. I can see him running again.
And many predictions have been made about that. Many well-known psychics, the same ones.
But I'm saying,
predicted his win.
Guess who I'm thinking as his running mate?
Who?
Don Jr.
Oh no, he's going to implode. It could, if it happens, he'd be the worst thing that ever happened to us. He'd be worse than his father.
He doesn't like Don Jr. enough to run with him. He would probably run with Ted Cruz if he ran again.
Well, speaking about Ted Cruz, nice segue into our next conversation topic, the unfortunate and fortunate about it. The power's back on in Texas. Now comes the recovery, and it won't be cheap. And I'm sure you're going to talk about Mr. Cruz in this one.
But
Okay, go ahead.
I just have a really weird question. So we know that there were deep freezes around the wind turbines, but did anybody discover if it had anything to do with the hacking that they did on the solar wind, the turbines Russia did a few months before the election? Because it's a little strange if you ask me. It's just odd. Not that there was a snowstorm, but the fact that everything was just dramatically, they need to do an investigation to find out what that was.
Well, that investigation is going to be a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of
all,
let's look on
because that was like a test run for me of what happened.
Wow.
So Django, tell us what you really think about Ted Cruz. Oh gosh! So, where do we want to go at that? Do we want to talk about Mr. Cruz? Do we want to talk about how serious
where he's yelling freedom while he's standing on an SS designed stage? And when he went to said that Orlando is not Cancun, he's trying to make jokes about it. There were people's children, and people died in that. And then AOC really made Texans choke on their words, they're all, as I said, though, it is turning blue. And I think that Texas will go blue because I know that most Californians are moving there. But what's really crazy is she raised $5 million. He raised nothing but hell.
And Beto did an excellent job.
And Beto should run for governor. Beto will win if he runs.
What was Ted Cruz thinking?
That he wouldn't get caught. That he wouldn't get caught. And the only reason they got caught is because Heidi put her snitch on the chat. Here's what you don't do, okay? When you're planning to leave the state during a crisis and your husband is a senator, you don't put your homegirl who has the New York Times on speed dial in the group chat.
And
that's the first thing you don't do.
And you don't fly commercial. You get off your cheap behind and you get a private plane and you leave. But that's what did it for me, because I was checking out those sneaks that he was wearing, his shoes, kicks. I was like, where did he get those from? Like, 1974 from his grandfather?
And you don't
They
leave
weren't
the
even
puppy
like,
at
they were
home.
horrible.
And they left the puppy at home with the door wide open.
Which if any decent, reputable place, wherever they got their dog, would come back and take it away from them. But Ted Cruz gets away with things, which is why his end is going to be grisly, because he is just a buffoon. He's a buffoon of a man, and he will play. He may, people pay prices for things on many levels, and I don't know where his Achilles heel is, but the universe will find it, and it always brings it out.
How is he going to run for president? Isn't he like a naturalized citizen, not a born citizen?
Right. He's from Canada, which is why, that's what I'm trying to figure out. But, they keep changing all these laws. But, he's Canadian. He's from you guys, actually. He's your garbage.
Stop it.
Take him back.
Drink your cup and keep quiet, all right? So Chris is saying, Texas, thank God for President Biden, AOC, and Beto O'Rourke. Ted Cruz is a total buffoon who totally abdicated his responsibilities. And none of the three aforementioned Democrats did not require, quote, praise, unquote, for what they did.
Yes.
True leadership.
But wait till that heat hits and that snow starts to melt, because the flooding is going to be something else.
Right.
That's what I saw my mother today. I said some of those levees, because remember, Texas has levees. Those levees aren't going to hold.
Oh boy, Chris, are you auditioning to come and join the ladies? Because you're on fire tonight.
I know.
You're making quite the impression the first time out. I'm telling you.
The same thing. I was like,
Real dango. Ted has gone the wrong way. Oh my goodness. But let's look at it too, though. Texas, the sustainability, like it looked like nothing in place. And this happened a number of years ago, and they didn't do anything to improve from this happening again.
But just remember, Texas also was talking about 3 weeks ago that they wanted to secede from the union. Remember?
And then the other, their governor was today posted a picture of him playing golf with Donald Trump, and he was wearing these really bad shorts that I don't know that maybe they
in a wheelchair.
No, but
yes, he is.
Well, he was standing up today. Was it a governor? Oh, attorney. Wait, the attorney general. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Anyway, they looked like they came in from like 1932 basketball.
Shame.
When they long shorts, really bad. And then you're thinking of that boy in the wheelchair with the. He got himself a mixed girlfriend so he could,
and the one in the wheelchair.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, how'd he do?
He was rolling through a Joe Biden show and Joe Biden stuff yesterday.
How'd he do? What? Where's that come? How'd he do?
Because he tried to shake Joe Biden's hand yesterday. Joe Biden was like,
"Have another sip, Miss Jill. I don't know what's going on in that cup. Just have another sip, okay?"
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Cheers.
But
I'm going like, this is supposedly like one of the prosperous states in the union, and it looked like a disaster area, and the system for providing electricity. And I did have a chance to talk to a number of Texans. I'm going, one they say, "Oh, you brought your weather from Canada down here." I said, "I did no such thing. Thank you very much."
There are so many young people down there moving there. These old guys their days are numbered, and that's why they want to align themselves with a different. It's going to be interesting. We've got to really make sure they can't do their gerrymandering and all of this stuff. But
oh boy,
they're going to try. With our
with that, we haven't. We got to do some more conversation about what's going on with the voting rights thing in between now and the next. The midterm, there's a lot of craziness going on with that
and
right
the Equality Act that,
yes.
It's crazy. I mean, let's be honest. They haven't passed the Anti-Lynching Act, and they didn't pass the women's, these are things that just go into the House and they die. You know, the House
Yeah.
has great intentions, but the Senate has had too much of a stranglehold on our nation for a long time. And as I keep saying, the whole entire Senate needs an enema.
Yeah. They need to get rid of this filibuster like ASAP.
Totally.
Like
We will never get anything done. The world is watching
I don't
and they're
know.
laughing.
Yeah, I don't know what Chuck Schumer's waiting for. Him and just do it.
So
Peel the Band-Aid off, rip it off.
I don't know. Sometimes I think Chuck might be better, like working in the fabric district in New York, selling suits. He seems like a nice enough guy, really. But really, damn, man, come on, get it together.
So, and thoughts of what happened in Texas? You know, obviously you have your comments on Cruz. Did you have any hurts for what was going on down in Texas?
I feel bad for the people there because they're so screwed by the government and there's nothing they can really do until their next election. And I think that the next election, they're going to show up and show out because their government and the people who run it have really just shown that their reckless disregard for the people.
And some of the charges that people are having to pay for electricity bills, it's regulated.
Yeah, and they're getting charged. It's like they trick people into putting their electricity and their water and everything on the automatic payment plan.
Hold on, it's Jill's screen time. Go ahead, Jill.
Really, Aisha, I know what you're saying because my question is the dude that was like, I'm a vet and I took $15,000 out of my savings to pay this bill. Now, I'm going to tell you something. First of all, that was only like a week after, and they were sending me a bill. First of all, I'd have a damn problem with that. I'd be like, a week after, and I'm getting a bill? Hang on, where's my 30 days? And secondly, I wouldn't pay it. We would have a big go into my savings to pay a bill for $15,000. And wait, I was expecting these folks to get their bills 30 days from the disaster, not what the hell? Not during. I mean, that's some cold. That's a cold brew. I mean, that to me was some off the real red, you know what I'm saying? I can't even stand. Yeah.
But the company had tricked these people beforehand and had the people on all these automatic payment plans. So the people were in the middle of this stuff, and it was automatically just generating bills from the people taking their money, so they couldn't take out the money to go stay someplace or feed their families. They're like, oh my God, they ran a bill.
Where were they in the billing cycle? I'm like, oh,
people are like,
that's like they're knocking right on your door. You know, that's the old days. But
they ran a billing cycle in the middle of this stuff.
They like to take it out. They pulled it like how the IRS does.
Okay, so let's catch up. Let's catch up with some comments here. Real Dango, I might move to Canada. He also says, here it is. He's also saying voter suppression is beginning on cue in Georgia. They want to change the rule for mail-in voting. Birdie Lynn, I think she sounds like she used to live in Texas. She says, and I was going to move back. Lord have mercy. Oh, my gosh. Yep. Real Django saying they want to add 2 forms of ID to vote down here.
You know, and a lot of people don't understand, well, why don't people have 2 forms of ID? Well, there's certain really weird things that have gone on. I just read an article about a gentleman who'd been in jail for 45 years and he got freed because they found out through DNA that it wasn't him. He still hasn't gotten any ID. Now, how are you going to how did they charge him? What? All I know is, you guys, is that I wake up every day and go, it's amazing that the country even got this far, because it looks like nobody has known what they're doing. And I mean, honestly, how do you do that? There's elderly people, they've got people. There was a man who was going after his COVID shots. 8 times. He's 80 years old. He keeps going to Yankee Stadium, right? Not one person says, hey, sir, let me get on my phone and go online and register you. So you have does anybody do that anymore? He 8 times. He's 80. We're in a very funny cycle in Texas. Texas, let's be real straight. Google has moved down there. They bought up like 8 blocks. The real estate is so hot right now. They have no inventory. I have a girlfriend who's a broker, told me about it the other day. She had 45 bids on one house. 45 offers.
Oh, okay.
So they're turning over hand and fist in Texas. And unfortunately, rents, 1-bedroom apartments, $2,400.
Come on.
I kid you not. 26.
Okay, let's move to the next.
They took LA. California went there.
Okay, no, I'm done. Let's get to the next story. I don't want to hear anymore. All right. U.S. first military action under Biden draws criticism. So recently, there was some airstrikes in Syria. Ladies, your thoughts?
Jill, you can go first.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my.
It's bad enough that we have to deal every day with the shadow of Donald Trump. But I also think that people are forgetting that we're still a country and there are still things going on. And this is just one part of it. I do not believe that people are in such an uproar with Biden. Of course, it's kind of frightening, but they should be more concerned why they didn't know that terrorists had attacked our military about a week before that. But the media was so busy. Media was so busy covering nonsense that we didn't know that we had men and women who died. Basically, old Scorpio president said, "I don't play that, and that's that." And I'm not telling you, I'm not going to loose jaws sink ships, right? So I get it. And I get that you have to react fast, but it's not anybody's business. Even the journalists who were sitting in with Jen Psaki, none of them were commenting on it. It wasn't a priority to them. They are too busy trying to corner and catch her and things or talk about Neera Tanden. The biggest issue is that the media dropped the ball, and so did people. So bombing Syria, it's nothing new. The fact is you did know about it. You have found out about it. But I wish I saw this much outrage from the right when there were journalists who were dragged so far during the Kurdish outburst and that her head rolled off of her body, on live TV. If you were on the right channel, you would have seen it, all because of what Trump did with the Kurds and threw them to the wolves. It was unforgivable. And I still will always say that, or how Jamal Khashoggi has been murdered. But this is a tit for tat game with them. Jamal Khashoggi was murdered because somebody, a mole in the White House, gave intelligence to them. And nobody wants to say who it was. And I don't think it's that difficult to figure it out. Some little prep school boy, now they want to be all upset because he hasn't done anything to penalize MBS. And the whole issue with that too, not to get off of Syria, but it's a really difficult situation. The fact is, he called that dude's dad, basically sanctions America. I said this before, we will not be able to police the world like we used to. When your poop stinks, you can't be going and telling everybody else how it is. We can only deal with what effectively happens to us. He had no choice but to strike back with military. And, I know a few people were saying, well, the general has stock in this and that. Well, get real. Everybody, if you look at who they're all connected to, their children, their mamas, their sisters, their babies, they all got stock somewhere. They're born with it. They give it to each other. That's who we are dealing with in our Congress and all across the board. And even if you came in as a little layman and you got a job and a gig working up in the Senate and you're a senator, you'll get on that good foot too, because that's how it works. So the clutching of the pearls over bombing Syria when so very little was done and there was no transparency. I know there was a World Report the other day, just how many bombings Donald Trump did. And they are saying in the collateral damage and of civilians that he far exceeded Barack Obama. And that is something that they don't want to really deal with. But there are groups that keep tabs on this, and they don't want to have any action on that. So that's my long-winded approach about this. But Donald Trump did some horrific things. I don't think we had any other choice. And we have to get some kind of leverage back to be able to negotiate with Iran if we're all going to get back in that nuclear thing again.
Remember when Russia had bounties on the heads of our soldiers?
Thank you.
And Donald Trump did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Basically, Joe Biden did what he had to do. It's not like this stuff wasn't known. Again, like Jill said, our media was paying attention to Donald Trump, not to this administration. This administration actually is dealing with all of the issues that this country has to deal with, not just the one, not just COVID. If our media was paying as much attention to the country as a whole as it was to Donald Trump and what Donald Trump's going to do and what the Republican Party is going to do about Donald Trump, then maybe we would see some of our foreign policy. Joe Biden was talking about the foreign policy and what he hopes to accomplish. And only one reporter, to my knowledge, asked anything about the foreign policy with the Middle East. And that reporter wasn't even from this country. That reporter was from the Middle East. And that kind of, when that question was asked, I was watching MSNBC, and MSNBC cut away so Chuck Todd could talk about something else. And so we're only getting as much as our journalists will allow us to get that information. So it becomes a surprise to us when these airstrikes and things like this happen. The truth be told, Joe Biden didn't do anything any different than what George Bush did, than what Barack Obama did, than what Trump didn't do. And Trump did not know how to engage and strategically in that region. Instead, he was making friends with terrorists and making us more unsafe, and making it so that people like Khashoggi would end up murdered and parts of murder plots. So I really don't understand the uproar on the right. Here they are, they're in uproar over this, but meanwhile there are CPAC idol worshiping a gold statue of Donald Trump in flag colored jams with flip flops. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the whole thing about the murders with the civilians in these regions, Americans could tune in and they could watch programs that actually do share it. It's very unbiased. Barack Obama had his struggles. Hell, he even wrote about it in his book about working with drones and understanding that. But what a lot of people don't know about Donald Trump is once he started removing certain generals and had the Pentagon change a lot of people, the one thing he did not want reported were the deaths of civilians. And that is the difference that you'll see with Barack Obama's presidency. To his credit, it was always listed if there was some kind of, civilian casualty list. And for that, I have to give him credit for that. And I think that stepping back when he did was a big learning curve, because you also have to remember, these guys are being advised by military guys who may somewhere have their own agendas indirectly, but not necessarily. For them, force, let's take this and let's get this done with. It was very important that we addressed, because of the type of ballistic missile that was sent. It was a little bit disturbing that militia-backed whatever would have it. And that generally comes from when Saudi Arabia gets arms from us, we sell it to them, they circumvent back behind our back. This is nothing new. They've always freaking stabbed us in the back. But people should have been more upset with what was happening in Yemen. I mean, seriously? It's like they're just too precious, the Saudis. Oh, they're so precious. But the reality is Joe, by sanctioning them on the end of like, I'm not giving you the arms, that hurts because that cuts into their thing. Remember, they're just a whole big blob of sand. And pretty soon, we don't need their fossil fuels either. If you really want to be done with that bullshit and them, don't get off of the get off of the oil, and they will sink.
All right, let's go to our our last topic, and then we always have to have this episode's cockroach. But let's go to a serious situation. Where were you ladies when you heard about the Tiger Woods accident?
I think I was just watching TV and I happened to see it. I don't know. I thought he was speeding when I watched it and I saw it on TV. And I saw that it was a one person accident. I was like, how is he driving? That was my whole question.
Yeah, it was like 7 a.m. for me, and so I kind of figured, where he was, like in the Palisades or Palos Verdes. I mean, it was just really early morning, whatever, and because I was in the house, and it was really scary to think that,
Yeah.
I mean, but people drive crazy out here, so it didn't necessarily mean you're speeding. We got some crazy people that, don't just drive, but it seemed clear that where he was trying to go, it's come out was like an hour away from where he was staying, and he needed to be there by 7:30, and he actually left like at 7:10. And of course, he probably came out like a bat in hell trying to figure out. And then Rolling Hills is right there, and you can go down, just zoom in, and you can lose control very easily over there. And, that was it. And it's crazy that the surgery was long. I wasn't quite sure. Like, did he almost lose his leg? Which
don't know, but it was pretty serious. Like, I guess it was they said he's lucky to be alive.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that he almost probably lost it.
Yeah.
And they're not saying that because the surgery went, I don't think it was a 12-hour or 14-hour surgery. When he even came out here, it was like late in the evening.
Yeah.
So it was just really crazy to hear. And I was just like going, oh no, not another young African-American sportsman. I know how many people feel about Tiger, but he's such a great athlete.
Wow.
Amazing talent, and that would have been very heartbreaking to hear. Well, but I'm glad he's okay, and because he deals with so much pain, his back, he's got a lot of injuries that he's been dealing with for years. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, that recovery
is going to be long recovery for Mr. Woods. Hopefully,
I wish him well. I really do, because
well, I felt for when I first heard that, I thought about his kids, especially his son.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, how they were playing. Well, it's the end of last year. They were playing in a tournament together, and they looked so happy together, and just wham.
It seemed like he was in a good place, and I think he did this thing. He had to go and give a class to Breeze, some basketball player or something.
Drew Brees, football player.
Football player, and I don't know football, but it was really, for me, like I said, I would really hope to see more compassion with people online from people, but I've kind of tuned out a little bit from some things online because I really think that we've got to just be better people and want better for each other.
So this is a nice segue then. You're going to tune down. Okay. So it's now time for this episode's cockroach, the Republican Party of America.
The entire party and people who are in the party, followers, all of them.
Go ahead.
The whole party.
Go ahead.
Throw the whole out. from the top, from
we got
Mitch McConnell to Ted
Cruz. We got to turn
Donald Trump. I'm still mad at that statue. I am like, that thing. Where are we around?
Okay, we're having some challenges with Aisha's. So fill in, Jill.
I think that from the statue, from the stage, and always channeling National Socialism. For me, who they are, they couldn't be more clear. And I know there's been things like where Meghan McCain on The View is always saying there's really good Republicans. Well,
and she wanted Dr. Fauci to resign too.
Yeah, she's an idiot. And girlfriend's going through something. That makeup stuff, it's like, girl,
Jill, don't go there.
What is up with the glitter? Everybody knows glitter does not look good. Makes everybody look older. Everybody. Glitter is not great unless you're 13 or 15. Young skin does better with glitter. But and those weird hairdos. But anyway, the whole
80s
point
wants
of that,
to look back.
I didn't even do glitter then. It just ages you. It totally just makes you look old. But that being said,
Chris.
But I think the fact that they keep trying to delineate themselves like they are the party. I said to you guys before we came on, if I am in a group and they're all saying, hey, we're all vegan. And then the next weekend they're out at, the steakhouse and, and they come back and we're all going to be, yeah, well, they're different. They're vegans, but they eat steak. It's like they're white. They're Republicans, but they're the white supremacist ones. I'm sorry. What does the Bible say? Bad associations spoil useful habits. You cannot tell me that party, so Mitch McConnell, or not Mitch and who, Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney, they need to ask themselves, why are you here? Why are you here, girl? They don't want you. This is not your mama's Republican Party. It ain't Lincoln's. That's for damn sure. It isn't. It is Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler and Himmels and all of them. And I'm not, this is who they want to be. And they channel it on purpose because they like to invoke fear and power. And there are people who have romanticized this notion, but they should really watch that video of what happened to those soldiers after the war by the people who even got out of Auschwitz, girl, at their last move, stick arms. And if you really want to see what they did, it was Bresson. Bresson has a video. He had Cartier-Bresson. It is a video, and they colorized it. And what the women did to those sergeants, the SS women, I'm telling you, it was. So if they want that ending, it's on.
But Lindsay doesn't care. All he does is imagine himself sitting on the front steps with an umbrella, drinking mint julep. That's
Lindsay needs to get back on a better HIV medication because he's looking a little puffy.
Oh gosh,
he's looking a little puffy, huh?
Does not care. I said.
I think I just because I think that he has done something so horrible in his past, and maybe that should come out so that he doesn't infect anyone else. He's a horrible human being. And these people, sometimes I wonder, like, will people pay for it in the next life? And sometimes it's not enough to just rely on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we have to step up and we have to earn our right into a better place in heaven too. But why, really, there are things that the difference between right and wrong and treating people right. Just being a good person.
Lindsay is going to pay for whatever Lindsay did. And it's horrible because there's the sycophantish way that Lindsay behaves. There's no good excuse for it to be something just so benign.
But, here's the thing. I know he was friends with McCain and he was friends with Biden. Friends, right?
Yeah.
But I think Lindsay has always been the little spy that they all pushed around and had do dirty work because he's so comfortable with it. I think that's his saving grace when he's so smug with them and turning his nose up with them, like, I got a new man now, bye. That's only a person who would do that is somebody who knows that you either used them, played them, or had them doing things. Everybody's always been like, well, Lindsay always needs to hang around with power. And that's true. However, they knew that. They're not dumb men. Lindsay's been like that since his little smarmy butt came into the Senate. He'd do anything. Yeah. So the entire Republican Party is trash. And anyone who's defending it and that they're in it and they can overlook that, if you have any Jewish friends, if you have any Black friends, then you need to stop talking to them if you're still a Republican. Because if you support that party, then you don't support your friends. All right. And you're no friend to either community.
All right. All right. Yep. That is it, folks. They haven't been around for a while. Man, they were loaded up. Folks, at the beginning of the week, we didn't have nothing to chat about, so I just gave them a few little tit, 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 and you see what happened? Some tit, 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 and they're on fire. But as always, we love to have them here, Aisha and Jill. And I'd like to thank everyone who made this live conversation fire tonight. We had Real Django, Birdie Lynn, our regulars. Thank you, Chris, first timer. Thank you so much. Thanks for your added contributions tonight. And everyone else who watched live on the replay, amazing. So before we let the ladies leave, you know what we do. We do the thing. We ask, where can we find them? Jill, where can we find you?
Jill D. Jones at Twitter.
There you go. She makes it short and sweet. And then Aisha K.
You can find me at Aisha Staggers on Twitter. Capital AISHA, capital STAGGERS.
Wonderful. And myself, you can find me the best places at my website, the drvibeshow.com. Also on Twitter at drvibeshow. Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show. YouTube, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram, the gram, you can find me at the drvibeshow.com. And there's my email address, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. As always, I'd like to say thanks everybody for watching live. Just seeing we got a few more. Yes, Chris is saying thank you for a terrific convo. Thank you, Chris. Right back, and hope you become a regular. And also, some of our regulars, do you want to come on once and hang out with the ladies? I know Birdie Lynn's done it once. There's always seats open if you want to come hang with them. Chris, I think they want you to come on big time. So, Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 and 2018 award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And also once a month, I host the only online conversation for fathers and dads in the world that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also sponsored by Dad Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization. And also I'm the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It's a multimedia nonprofit that features Blacks in the diaspora that are involved with food, wine, and travel. As always, I'd like to close out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, that aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. And remember, love, faith, and respect, and also to give yourself grace. God bless. Peace you all. Keep the faith. And don't worry, they ain't going to be gone for long because we can't have them long gone anymore. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, and be safe.